Why do pro pilots not use FPV camera mix? Thank you, Drone Arcaria. Because they know how to fly. Because they know how to fly. You just do it with your fingers. FPV camera mix compensates for the up tilt of the camera, but if you're an experienced pilot, you fly with different up tilts. You fly with more up tilt, you fly with less up tilt, and you just learn. It's like saying, why when a driver gets out of a car and gets into a truck, does he not need a special piece of software to make the brakes respond the same in the truck that they do in the car or something? You just drive the car. You just fly the drone. That's why the pilots don't do it. They don't need to.
Okay, quick aside.
Yeah.
Let's just be in pretend world. Brand new pilot, never flown before, wants to have the easiest flight time. Would it, in theory, be better for them to always run camera angle mix forever? Because it's just easier? You just yaw and you don't have to mix?
No, because here's why.
Okay.
That's a good question. So what camera angle mix does is if I'm flat, okay, and I put just yaw in, I'll turn, and the horizon will stay flat. If I'm pitched forward and I put just yaw in, I will turn like this, okay? I will not turn like that. To turn flat with up tilt requires both roll and yaw together, okay? So if I am tilted forward 30 degrees, and I put in 30 degrees of FPV angle mix, then when I put yaw in, I will turn like this. The flight controller will automatically put in the right amount of roll, and I could just turn with pure yaw. Oh, that sounds really good. Why don't I do that? Well, here's the thing. Let's say I'm pitched forward like this to just 15 degrees, and I'm going slowly. Oh, well, now I have to mix in some roll. Well, let's say I want to go fast, so now I pitch forward, and I'm at 45 degrees. Oh, now I have to put some roll in. Okay? So my point is, camera angle mix does not get rid of the need to use yaw and roll to coordinate your turns. There is only ever one pitch angle at which you can turn with only the yaw stick. By default, that is 0 degrees pitch, and I turn with only the yaw stick. If I use FPV angle mix or up tilt compensate, whatever you want to call it, I can make that 0 position now be any angle I want. But anytime I'm pitched at any other angle, I still have to use yaw and roll to coordinate. So you always have to do it. Now, here's where I think FPV angle mix can be useful. Let's say I'm going to fly at a ridiculously high up tilt, like 45, 50, 60 degrees up tilt. Once you pass 45 degrees up tilt, yaw and roll actually reverse themselves. Yaw is now roll and roll is now yaw. And if you're an experienced pilot, you can compensate for that, but it can be a little disorienting. And I could see putting in like 20 degrees of FPV angle mix, which will subtract out 20 degrees of up tilt and take you from like 55 degrees down to a more manageable 35 degrees, so it feels more like what you're used to. But the reality is that top pilots just learn to fly through experience, and ultimately that's what you will end up doing too. So
okay,
if you're
last question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, we don't spend that long on this, but if you know how these questions are, if you let's say you set camera angle mix, and even though the fact that if I'm at 20, right, I'm on, and if I go down by 5 or up by 5, right, I have that much mix that I have to do with the yaw or with the roll, right? Okay, but doesn't that mean that now when I change angles, it's always the same offset or very similar offset, so I don't feel different when I change angles, right?
What do you mean? What do you mean? I'm not following. What do you mean by change angles? When I change angles,
like let's say I change my camera up to 35 from 20, but then I change my camera angle mix to 35 from 20. So now the relative adding of roll,
it's going to feel. That's what it can do.
Right?
That's what it can do.
Yeah.
So what FPV angle mix can do is it can make all your angles feel like the one you're used to. So let's say I'm used to 20 degrees. My muscle memory is for 20 degrees, and I tilt to 35. If I then put in 15 degrees of angle mix, it'll make it feel like 20 again, right? But
There's very little use for that, right? Like
because
you're
like what
rarely
do you,
changing angles.
like
And,
every time, yeah. What am I? Every time I like bump the like, because I can't tell you how many times I've been like, I want to go a little faster. Doink. Okay, now I'm ready to haul ass. That's a little too much. Like I'm adjusting my camera angle all the time, based on how I want to fly. So like I don't want to go in my flight controller and adjust that number every time.
What we need is a camera that automatically reports back the angle based on a gyro in the camera.
No, what we need is people to learn to fly better.
Okay.
Okay.